It's been 13 issues of X-Men, an entire Ten of Swords event, and over one full year on the calendar, but X-Men number 18 finally returns to the Mutants vs. the Children of the Vault storyline, seated in X-Men number 5 with the story of Wolverine, Laura Kinney, Darwin, and Synch's mission inside the Vault. Today I'll answer, what new information does Hickman tell us about Krakoan resurrection? Who do the Children of the Vault work for? How does the answer connect to Hickman's Ultimate Universe? Is Hickman's X-Men moving too slowly? Theories and predictions for things to come in the X-Men and the Reign of X. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You are listening to Krakin Krakoa number 161. If you like the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting here. It all helps me find new readers, new listeners, and new fans to enjoy X-Men with. You can find full X-Men reading orders on comicbookherald.com with links in the show notes. Spoilers for Discussed Comics will follow. Writer Jonathan Hickman, artist Mahmud Asrar, colors Sonny Gao, letters by Clayton Cowles. Darwin, Wolverine, and Synch, they enter the Vault. We get narration here by Synch. It's a POV issue from Everett Thomas, which is pretty cool, given that the character's been somewhat understated, definitely in the past. We're reminded that these three mutants have been chosen to learn all they can about the threats within the time-warping Vault, as Professor X has deemed them the greatest threat to mutant kind. I think it's worth calling out here that I've been applying this statement pretty literally to the Children of the Vault, but I think the reality is it extends to all post-human technological advances. Charles has seen Moira Six's life, presumably, and he knows the threats Homo Novissima mean for mutants in those future timelines. Professor X and the Council, again, they have suspended the murder no man laws for the Children of the Vault, we learned here, as the children fall outside the normal definition of human, and the risk of data recovery seems improbable using current legal methods. It's yet another example of the Quiet Council's pragmatism over, what would have been considered the heroic X-Men nature, and it also ties back to like an issue of Hellions, where we saw an imperative, a directive, to essentially wipe out, to massacre artificial intelligences before they could come online and become a threat to mutant kind. That is a recurring theme here in this era of X-Men. Now, as the mutants are entering the Vault, we see Serafina, one of the children, returning to her home, the Vault, and specifically we see Hickman referencing the center of the Vault, the city. There are a couple of important things happening here. Number one, it's clear that the Children of the Vault are not really running the show, right? They effectively report into the central intelligence at the heart of the Vault in the city. And as we learn in this issue, the Vault is purposely reducing creation, reducing population, feeling that their enhancements aren't where they need to be yet for a full world takeover, which is their ultimate goal. And then second, the big question as to whether Hickman is bringing in his ultimate city, from the pages of Ultimates, appears to be a verified big yes. If you've read his run on Ultimates and the way Hickman is utilized the Ultimate Universe maker, for example, the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards, who has kind of gone sour, gone bad, you'll recognize not only the naming conventions, both of the dome and the city, but the very design of the city as we see it here. Run the side-by-side comparisons from Ultimates and the brief inclusions of a version of the Maker City in Avengers in the Build the Secret Wars, and you can see striking similarities from what Asrar draws here in the pages of X-Men number 18, So Hickman's Vault is effectively the Earth 616 reproduction of the Maker's world from Ultimates, right? Looking back, it seems so obvious considering the Maker's Children of Tomorrow are basically just another name for the Children of the Vault. What does it mean, though? What does it matter? Well, for starters, I think it makes less likely that the children are reporting into some kind of master mold or Ultron or any other AI-based theory that I and others may have tossed out there. It feels like this is big capital letters, the city, through and through from the pages of Ultimates. Remember, too, that while I don't think we officially know who or what created the children, the time acceleration that created them was started in South America in the 1970s. So if you're looking at all this and thinking, oh damn, here comes the Maker, well, maybe, but it's unlikely he straight up created the Children of the Vault, A possibility, though, would be that the children have since migrated to a version of the Maker City in Earth 616, perhaps left behind by its original creator, and now evolved as its own established AI. Remember, the Maker does make it from the Ultimate Universe to Earth 616. He's been hopping around in the pages of Venom most recently, in particular, a little bit in the Donny Cates run, So he's around, he could leave some cities behind, cities being the city type technology, And then two, we consider that, I actually like this option the most, given that we've seen Mike Carrie's children, in Mike Carey, the original creator of the Children of the Vault, we've seen them living in the Quitado, okay, in an alternate dimension in the pages of latter stage X-Men Legacy, okay? So the Children of the Vault have migrated to some extent. Either way, these connections are clearly with purpose and kind of exhilarating if you're a big fan of Ultimates like I am. I'm curious what you all think they might mean. I mean, the Maker connections are very, very interesting, especially given that, like, obviously many people wondering in House of X, okay, Professor X is stylized to look basically exactly like the Maker. What are those potential connections there as well? I think that's going to continue to get built out in some really interesting ways. Now, the Children of the Vault, when they do show up, they do not feel prepared to deal with Krakoa's glow up, right? Like, mutant kind has advanced in ways that they are simply not ready for. Now, I like Asrar a lot as an artist. He's particularly gifted with Wolverine, perhaps tying back to his work on the character in X-Men Red, but he definitely lacks the absurdist fluidity of Chris Bachalo's original designs, co-creating the characters with Mike Carey. They definitely lack some of that just like popping off the page design, and again, that sort of absurdist flair. Then nonetheless, the mutants, they show up and they fight the children pretty much immediately, right? Like upon entering the vault, there's a lot here with Synch narrating and Hickman writing, talking about memories of how these things played out, perhaps playing out differently, how like Synch, Darwin, and Laura, that they're counting the days. So there's a narration from Synch here that is occurring clearly after the fact, right? Presumably after these mutants are going to make it out of the vault, but spoilers here, that doesn't happen this issue. We don't know when that's going to happen. There's an illusion here that perhaps they're trapped in the vault for an extremely long time. Now remember, time in the vault does not pass the same as it passes outside on Krakoa. So like what might feel like hours, what might feel like days, and obviously they're counting the days here for Synch, Darwin, and Wolverine. We have no idea how many years, how much time might have passed for the X-Men, outside in Krakoa, okay? A majority of the issue is committed to the developments of Synch, aka Everett Thomas, as Hickman has definitely shown an interest in developing lesser utilized and discussed corners of the 90s X-Men scene, in this case Synch with Generation X. Now, Synch learns in this issue that he can replicate the Children of the Vault's powers. This is a new power set for him, okay? Previously, he could sort of replicate what mutant powers were around him. Now, he can replicate suddenly Fuego's powers, this fire burst, which greatly helps the mutant team get an edge. Okay, this is a new thing. There's an interesting data page that follows up on this from Dr. Cecilia Reyes, talking about Synch's reported power surges post-resurrection. Now, this was talked about in X-Men number 5, but here Dr. Reyes expands. Okay, we knew from the previous report that Synch's power levels were enhanced post-resurrection. What's new is the idea that this would be true for all resurrected mutants, in theory, and that their post-resurrection power sets could conceivably include capabilities they never had prior to resurrection. I would interpret this to mean following a single resurrection as opposed to coupling growth for every resurrection. Otherwise, like Quentin Quire would just be, expanding and expanding and expanding his already Omega level power set, which seems impossible. But obviously, there's still a lot that is unknown about the process. Well, what does this mean? Well, in the short term, it means we're going to see things like Synch able to replicate the powers of the Children of the Vault. Mutants who've been resurrected are going to start doing things they didn't know they could do, that we didn't know they could do, and not necessarily as a result of a secondary mutation. We have all these ways going on right now where now just like regular Krakoan resurrection, seemingly confirmed through Dr. Reyes' studies here, that like resurrected mutants are coming out enhanced, right? We have the knowledge that the mutants who were resurrected via Araco, or who died in Araco and were then resurrected, that they came out enhanced, okay, as we've seen with in a way, as we've seen with Wild Child and Nanny in the pages of Hellions. So there's all these different ways where like mutants are advancing, their power sets are increasing, they're getting stronger, and all this is before we've really had any like official confirmation of chimeras, of combining mutant powers, of mutant technologies being warped or genetically modified into individual mutant creations. I mean, it's just all of it's building to, I think, what we saw in Powers of 10, which is to say like building mutant armies, building just sort of these unbeatable, again, like trying to get on the scale of post-human adaptation and involvement, right? That the Children of the Vault have come to epitomize in so many ways. We see that here kind of happening naturally, kind of happening gradually with Synch as a character, which is very interesting. So the mutant unit inside the Vault, they decimate the Children of the Vault, okay? They win pretty easily. And again, like the Children of the Vault unit here is very reduced. Remember, they're inside the Vault's home. My expectation would have been like, oh, it's mutants versus thousands of Vault creations. No, it's like 5 or 6, okay? And they leave behind, by the end of it, only Aguja, who really throws a wrench in things. Now, Aguja and Fuego, they both died at the end of the Mike Carey and Bacalo Supernova's arc, okay? Meaning the Vault is carrying out its own resurrection protocols, which I find very interesting, right? So, like, we have yet another example of the death of death, right? This theme throughout the Marvel Universe in this era, we see very strongly in the Hickman era of X-Men. We see now in the pages of the Kieran Gillen, Esad Ribic Eternals. We see in Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk. That extends here to the Children of the Vault as well, where it's like characters you thought were dead. Nope, Vault has a way to bring them back, okay? And leaving behind Aguja, who here is very much, espouting the testament of the Children of the Vault, of their advancement over mutant kind, saying, we are the future, you can't outrun the future. She can kind of go nitro, right? And she kind of has this giant explosion that sets the cliffhanger for the end of this issue. So all we know is what Synch tells us is on day one, they enter the vault, this battle goes down, there's a huge explosion, and then he says you have no idea what it took to get out, implying they will in fact get out, but again, we haven't seen it yet. So after all that, we see him go into the vault. We still don't know how they got out. We still don't know if they're going to get out in the current timeline. I think possibly like Wolverine, Synch, and Darwin could be our mutants trapped in the future, Days of Future Past kind of mutants if they ever get out of here, because they're going to be so far into the future with the time escalation of the vault. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think X-Men 18, it kind of felt like a tease, like it's been so hyped up to come back to the vault, to come back to the storyline that was set up in X-Men number 5. It's one of the most interesting seeds that Hickman laid out there. And again, too, like it was set up in X-Men 5. We also had the vault reference in X-Men number 1. When they found Seraphina, I think, in an Orcus facility, which again, like what was that about? We still don't know. There's just a lot here that needs to get built out. And I've been saying this throughout the X-Men run, Hickman's stuff in particular. I've been saying a lot lately too, like the patience expected of this narrative is immense, especially on a month-by-month single-issue basis, right? Like the patience expected is huge. You have no idea what it took to get out, Synch says, and we still don't, right? Like we still don't, and we're not going to potentially for another month when issue number 19 comes out. That will be the actual escape issue. I don't know. I'm definitely like, I don't know that I'm bristling because there's so much to think about and dig into, but man, on a month-by-month, issue-by-issue basis, like this run just isn't really built for that, and I don't think it's supposed to be, and that's fine, right? This one, I think Hickman's work would really benefit from a new X-Men complement, a Hickman written new X-Men, right, from the POV of the Quiet Council book. I think much like we had with his Avengers and New Avengers, where the New Avengers was the Illuminati side of things. How cool would it be right now if we had a new X-Men, call it whatever you want, I'm just using new X-Men because that's got the Morrison connotations and literally just riffing off New Avengers, but like call it whatever you want, but like, having a new X-Men Hickman counterpart where he could, all these various threads could be seeded and played out across 2 titles instead of just the one. It's one book feels like it's too constrained. It feels like it's too confined for the amount of work and for the amount of story that Hickman's trying to fit in here. That said, right, if this run goes for 125 issues, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter a lick that in the moment around issue 18, like we're not going to remember that issue 18 felt a little slow if this run goes for an exceedingly long period of time, and I hope it does. I think probably more realistically is getting to like an issue number 50. I think let's try to get there would be awesome. I just don't know that like this X-Men run is especially successful as a monthly ongoing. Actually, I do know like it's not. I think it's very interesting. I love Hickman as a writer. Often, I love him as a long-term planner, but as like an issue-by-issue basis, that's a super hard thing to do on any comic right now, and that's always been a problem with Hickman's work. Runs I love, like East of West or even Black Monday Murders, which is like still unconcluded, they don't read super well on an issue-by-issue basis. I mean, as well as they can, but they're not super built for that. They're built for running for much longer. So, and they're, built to read as binges, like that is where the comic is going to be most successful. That's the nature of it. So I'm curious what you all think. The Krakoan for X-Men number 19 reads, it starts. Now, my guess here would be like this means full vault population production begins, so like there's going to be this explosion. It's going to wipe out the city, but then that's going to kick the actual city AI like into overdrive. Like, okay, we're basically getting ready to rebuild anyway. I think the reference to it starts is going to be, let's start building out this vault population. But I want to know, what are your theories? What's going on here with the vault? What's going on with these connections to Hickman's Ultimates? What do you think about the pace of this run? Again, like the return to the vault was a much hyped thing. It was teased going into the Reign of X. Obviously, we know it's been coming for a while. Did this issue live up to your expectations? Again, issue number 19 is going to be the second part of this. It is going to answer probably the remainder of the questions. So it feels a little silly to jump on it now and be like, this was insufficient, because it's like, it's going to come. It's going to come next month. But I'm curious what you all think. Let me know in the comments. Again, I definitely want to know what all your thoughts are on this Hickman X-Men run and this issue in particular. So thanks to everybody for supporting Comic Book Herald and Krakin Krakoa. You can find ways to do so at patreon.com/Comic Book Herald. Thanks in particular to those of you on the Mysterious Benefactors tier. I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com. You can find me at social at Comic Book Herald. Look for the best comics ever in My Marvelous Year podcast for more from me. So thanks everybody for listening. Let me know your comments here below. And in the meantime, enjoy the comics.